Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Scorpio and your moon in Libra, and we're talking about water and air. They are not harmonious elements, to say the least, because water is emotional and air is logical. So it's not to say that if you have a friend, if you're a Scorpio sun sign and you have a friend who is a Libra or whatever, a Gemini, that you are going to be arguing all the time. No. But the thing is that you're going to have a hard time understanding that person's motivations. So think about that within yourself when that is your moon sign. However, I maintain that this is actually easier than the flip side, having your sun in Libra and your moon in Scorpio. And I actually did that one. I had to check when somebody requested this one because it sounded familiar, like I'd already done it before. And I actually had done the opposite because the moon in Scorpio to me is much more challenging than the sun in Scorpio. However, the sun in Scorpio, some of you who are Scorpios may say that that's no trip to the beach either. So I'm not like saying that you're just you've had it easy in life. Maybe you have experienced trauma. I do believe that that might be true with a lot of Scorpio individuals, not just sun, not just moon, maybe rising sign as well. So what is going on here is that the basic core of your being, the sun, especially as it relates to accomplishing goals in the world, is in this very intense and very personal sign. That's something that I should emphasize more with the water signs, is it's very personal. It's not something that, like a Leo person, they may go on Facebook or Instagram and share what they had for breakfast because they just are so extroverted and there's nothing that they feel compelled to keep to themselves. That is not true for Scorpio people. And it's funny because I'm a Sagittarian, but I have the sun in the eighth house. So I have that flavor with Scorpio. So I'm kind of like scorpionic. And then I have the moon in conjunction with Pluto. Same. And I notice, like, I have an Instagram account and I've really not done much with it. I do posts now and then, but it's like such a weird thing for me because I'm a writer and I find it hard to come up with things to say because to me, it's very personal to share your life. And part of this journey of being doing these videos is really discovering myself and seeing that this Sagittarian that I thought I was, it's more complex than that. And so the same thing would apply to you having the moon in Libra, because there's going to be a part of yourself that is extroverted, that does enjoy the company of other people. And I actually think that water signs are people, a water sign is a people person too, because there is that emotional nature. So you have to, give it to somebody. It's not, otherwise you'll just, be self-consuming with your own emotions. But yeah, so it's a very interesting dilemma situation. And you may find it hard to understand why you are the way that you are. First and foremost, regardless of what a Scorpio person wants to do for a living, your basic core self is about understanding life at a deep level. And, I think that's the one thing that Scorpios and Sagittarians have in common, or the eighth and ninth houses, is this seeking. With Scorpio, it's more into the taboos, the secrets, the shadow self, the occult, which is, the forbidden mysteries or the forbidden spiritual practices like tarot and astrology, which really aren't to me a cult anymore, because that word means hidden. They're really not, but they were at one time, I guess. But the secrets of the universe, and it can be something that provides an endless thrill for you, an endless sense of wonder, however it pans out. This is the eighth house is the house of psychology. So you can be fascinated by criminal minds, true crime, and just these kinds of gory, macabre subject matters. And like I said, having that sun in the eighth house myself and feeling like I can tune into that Scorpio energy, one thing I realized is that you have to be careful and really protect yourself from the dark energy that surrounds those topics. So you may be interested in them, but it doesn't mean that you should absorb yourself. And as you know, Scorpio is very obsessive. So it's not something that you're going to do lightly, but you have to protect yourself. And because you have the moon in Libra, you may not realize how much something affects you, because Libra is an air sign and it's not coming from an emotional place. It's coming from the mind. So you might compartmentalize things. You might rationalize them or analyze them, but not necessarily feel them sometimes, and it could still be harmful. So keep that in mind. Especially with water signs, whether sun or moon, you are very empathic, and you absorb energy because of this, or you pick up on it. So even with subject matters, and if you think, oh, I'm strong enough to handle this, it's not about that. It's about something, it's about just what we feed ourselves psychically. And, just like you would feed yourself physically, and you don't want to tempt fate. That doesn't mean you can never, expose yourself to anything that is challenging material, but it's just immersing yourself in that can be a little bit much. And you may have a strong temptation to do that. So this combination is very good for psychotherapy. Of course, if somebody is going to become a psychotherapist, it really requires a lot of education. As I found out from somebody that I knew who was doing that, going back in midlife and taking all these courses, and I was floored that you had to have a PhD, but there might be therapy that you don't have to have, counseling that you don't have to have advanced degrees, or you might opt for being a psychic medium. Scorpio, I think, is particularly suited for mediumship because of the eighth house, and it is the house of the dead. So that veil between the two worlds, I think of that as the eighth house. But I think that one of the areas that you excel in is about transformation. Even in your own life, you may have your own story of coming back, having 9 lives, and coming back from the brinks of, I was going to say death, but it doesn't have to be. Well, maybe like a near-death experience, but something that was a crisis point in your life, and you were able to rehabilitate yourself. So, it's funny, I was thinking about addiction because the eighth house is one of those houses that sometimes is associated with addiction because of the obsessive quality and the forbidden quality. And, a drug like heroin, which is so dangerous, I can see certain people being attracted to it because they are interested in that kind of danger. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars is the daredevil. Pluto is associated with the underworld. So the thing that I would say, so by the way, in case anybody's getting it twisted, I'm not saying if you have the sun in Scorpio, you're going to be a heroin addict. I'm saying that look to areas of your life where you are attracted to the edge, where you are fascinated by the seedy underbelly of life, and you find yourself gravitating towards that. This combination, well, I was going to say also with sex work because of the connection with Scorpio and sex. But the more I think about Scorpio and sex, the more I think there's a dark edge to it, and like an abuse, like a background of abuse, and that. And what Scorpio learns, though, I'm talking about specifically the sun in Scorpio, not the moon in Scorpio, which I think can become more damaged by that, but the sun in Scorpio, I think the person learns, first of all, how to be a survivor in the best sort of way, and how not to allow that to make them, not make you into a victim, but also how you become empowered with the very thing that tried to destroy you. And this is what I was saying about sex work, because, there is a very, very, very strong correlation between sexual abuse and prostitution and, pornography and stripping. So the person with the Scorpio energy turns that thing that sought to destroy them into their source of power. And it's a dark power because it can be something of a reaction. It's not really a pure choice if you think about it in a lot of cases. It's really as a result of having been abused. But it's like Chiron. It's kind of like the wounded healer, where you take that poison and it becomes your medicine. And so this kind of thing can be a theme in your life. And with the moon in Libra, it gets even more convoluted because the moon is our emotional nature. And with Libra, it rules the seventh house of committed partnership. So there is a strong emotional yearning for companionship, being a couple with someone. And yet you have these two, I wouldn't call them opposing forces, but they may be coexisting very uncomfortably, where you may have been abused and you may have been, so you may have trust issues, and it makes it very hard for you to get close to someone. And yet that's what you want more than anything in the world as the sun in Scorpio. The moon in Libra can be kind of vapid sometimes. It can be very shallow and superficial in its emotional output and input, not really kind of skimming the surface sometimes, because it's the air element, and the air element is kind of like above it all. You know what I mean? It's not really it's not really sinking to that level, and therefore the person may try to get away with being very kind of like the rituals of love more than the actual feelings and vulnerability that goes along with it. So I'm recording this right before Valentine's Day, a couple of weeks before Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day was created by I don't know if it was a greeting card industry, but something commercial. And there are people that really take it seriously. It's like a sign if somebody loves you, if they, remember you on Valentine's Day and those kinds of things. And those are all rituals. Those are all kind of, they're things that people do in play substituting for the real deal. And Scorpio can be the real deal, although Scorpio can go way over the edge and be obsessive if the person is imbalanced, if the Scorpio person is imbalanced. Or you could even say like afflicted sun, and other placements that suggest that the person has a hard time being moderate in their love. And and I was going to say too, if you have Venus and or Mars in Scorpio, Lord have mercy. So the bottom line is that you're somebody for whom relationship is a big theme in your life, and yet it might be always elusive until you heal. And you know what I think healing is? I don't think healing is that everything is hunky-dory and you're just 100%. I think it means that you are consciously aware of this aspect of yourself and you are willing to admit it. The problem with Scorpios is that they are afraid of vulnerability. They detest weakness, and that creates these kinds of situations that repeat themselves where you don't get what you want. And that's not good, because you want to have certain things in life and you should have them. You deserve the good in life, Scorpio. So don't keep yourself from it. Getting back to careers, anything where you work one-on-one with people, where there's a psychological angle to it, counseling, maybe substance abuse counseling, that doesn't, if you, obviously, like I said, being a full-blown psychologist or psychiatrist takes years of training. So if that's something that you can't see yourself doing, it doesn't mean that you can't get into that kind of a field. You might just try something else that has a shorter training period. And even, even like something like substance abuse counseling, or working at a battered wife center, or sexual abuse, some of those things, they might be certifications you can get that you don't even have to have a 4-year degree. I don't know, maybe at a community college. And you would be like a master at this if you have healed yourself to some degree, because the unhealed water sign is highly subjective. And I see it, I can just smell it, because it's so prevalent when people are imposing or like kind of projecting their own their shadow onto other people. That can happen, and you can be unaware of that. But if you are like on top of that game, then you will be the best. Because unfortunately, I don't necessarily equate psychiatry and psychologists with people who tune into their clients. In some cases, there are some very good ones, but sometimes the person, especially being too much in the mind, that can lead to creating more illusions, as far as I'm concerned. So you are the best of both worlds, because you have that analytical ability coming from the moon in Libra, which can really be good at nailing emotions intellectually. And believe me, I think that is important, because if you are simply somebody who is very empathic, you may have a hard time putting into words how you feel somebody should, view a situation. And so this is a really good combination for that kind of work. And I think that you would be genuinely caring. Um, I'm trying to think. An artist for sure. Libra's ruled by Venus. Scorpio being a water sign. The type of art that Scorpios do is very, it tends to be quite macabre. It's funny. There was I live outside of Chicago, and there was an art exhibit at the Cultural Center that I went to a few years ago called Macabre, and I just really loved it. It was so great. It was so scorpionic, and they had all the these different artworks, and they were all like very macabre and stuff like that, dark, and it's funny because I love things that I tend to love things that are very light and beautiful, but that side of myself really got stimulated, and then my partner's sister, who has the moon in Scorpio, she was the one who told him about the exhibit, and she, so she probably loved it as well. So that kind of thing can be, you might veer though from back and forth. Um, it's interesting because I think of Sylvia Plath, who is like possibly my favorite poet, and she was a Scorpio, born on the same. I don't know if when it's not the same year, but the same day. Is it the day or date? I don't know which one it is. The same date as John Keats, another one of my favorite poets. But Sylvia Plath, I just really love, and it's interesting because I think she had the moon in Libra. I'm not. I'll have to check on that. But she veered between. She could write very dark stuff, but she could write the most beautiful light stuff. And it just amazes me how somebody can go from one extreme to the other. Sounds kind of bipolar, doesn't it? And that can also be something that you experience. When I say bipolar, obviously, not being a mental health specialist, I'm not diagnosing anything. I'm talking about two extremes. So you may have these times when you're very light and airy, and then these other times when you're very intense and heavy. And you may veer, but and maybe even kind of sardonic, and then the other times you're very optimistic and very cheerful and that kind of thing. So that's another observation to make. And in terms of love, don't use love as a way to I was going to say define yourself. Scorpio people are very strong people, in my opinion. No matter what, even if they're completely self-destructive, even that, that's their, I just feel that they're fierce, that you guys are fierce warrior types, even though you're water signs. And yet the moon in Libra I think, can create some vulnerability with especially women and physical appearance, because it is a shadow self. I've mentioned this with other Moon in Libra videos, that the mother may have been obsessed with her looks, and then you internalize that. And also with the Moon in Libra, that emotional need to be attractive to men. This is where sex can come in. Again, this is with heterosexual women. Obviously, I'm not a lesbian, so I can't say how it would apply if you are with another woman. I would assume the dynamics would be a bit different. But even in that case, you might still have some kind of neurotic tendencies regarding your looks, even if you are drop dead gorgeous. Look to the rising sign. If the rising sign is Libra, then yeah, or even Taurus, because those are two signs ruled by Venus, and the person can be preoccupied with their looks. And it's one thing to be that way, when you're younger, because that's just part of the, the conditioning, but also maybe even biological, because you're looking for a mate and there might be some kind of hormonal thing going on. But when you get older and you're still in that mentality, then you have to really, get real with yourself and saying, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? If you trace it back, it's going to be for love. It's going to be for acceptance. The moon in Libra is going to have almost a neurotic sense of needing approval from others, even though with the sun in Scorpio, that will be modified. Maybe it only comes out in romantic relationships. Certainly I can I can imagine Scorpio people who are like really successful career-wise, and they're just very confident in that arena. And then in their personal life, they are like putty, they just don't have that sense of, the strength in their personal life. So see if that's true for you and vow to, improve that, because that can get you into relationships that are not healthy, where you are constantly trying to twist yourself into a pretzel to accommodate somebody else. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to lose yourself in a relationship. And of course, you have to see where the sun and moon are to see more of like what's going on there. But I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this resonated with you guys. If you'd like a personal reading, I have a deep dive reading, perfect for Scorpios, where it's more of an extended chart analysis and extended transits, because that's how I roll with what I've got going on, and I prefer that. But I, give a discounted price. It's at least 2 hours in total. But you can find out more about that and my other types of readings at the link below. I'm at RainaMoonAstrology.com. Take care. Bye.